Landscaping is so underrated. Are you maximizing your landscape to move the needle on value? To hear our thoughts and more, stay tuned to this episode of The Den.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. And today we're going to be talking about all things landscape. Green, brownscape, yellowscape, flowers, I don't know. But before we get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry, Aspen the Ninja Groen, and the boss, Shannon Martin Martinez. My name is Ben Wisteria Lyons. I don't even know what, I think, a client one time, I called it a listeria. Isn't that like a virus?
That's more of a disease.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No wonder, because she was a nurse and she looked at me like, what are you talking about? I thought I was smart, Paul.
Well, yeah, you're not.
It's like a bacteria. It kills millions of people.
Yeah.
You don't want it in your yard.
Wrong thing to tell a nurse.
So that was one of the colors of my wedding, and I actually picked it. That's why I know what wisteria is.
Ah, well, good. So you do have that kind of.
No, that's the one color I know.
Okay.
I'm pretty much primary colors.
Magenta?
No. What is that?
Like a purpley red.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Pink?
I know pink.
Yeah. It's salmon. It's called salmon, Paul.
Yeah, if it's a shirt on a guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, but I digress. Let's get into
landscaping.
Landscaping. It really is an important feature to your property. And a lot of people overlook it. I mean, they do. They don't think about landscaping as much as they probably should. Especially we're in a high desert climate, but also you cross the border to the north in Durango. They have different types of landscape that, benefit them up there. But let's talk about all different types of landscape and how that could help or hurt you. In fact, we just got a home inspection report back, and the owner, great guy, he goes, Ben, I caused this problem. And I'm like, what problem? He's like, well, I put the planters in the front of the house, and guess what was happening? Any guesses here?
Termites.
Leaking.
Well, leaking.
Water.
Yep. So leaking. So basically all that water, every morning they would water those plants on bubblers, and it would seep right into the crawl space. And so it is something that, can create moldy issues, or it could create some settling, some other things like that. So that really got me thinking about landscape and how important it is for your primary residence, but also for rental properties or investment properties. There's things to think about. So Shannon, I'm going to jump straight to you, Miss Farm and Ranch.
All right.
Yeah. Talk to me about, now you own a little, I would call it a ranch, right? A little kind of farm.
Well, I live
maybe
on one. I don't really own it, but I live on one.
You live on. Now, what do you think about when you think landscaping and the importance for the everyday person? We can talk specifically about your property, but for the everyday person, what type of intention should you have for landscape, and how important is it?
It's extremely important. And actually, there's so many directions we could head with this. So I don't even know where to start.
Run away.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing is what we were just talking about, is how it can be a detriment to your house. One of the problems that I see a lot is either people putting their landscape too close and overwatering, and they get mold, moisture issues, wood rot, things of that nature. Also, if you got to consider with landscape, it regenerates, it dies out and it grows back, and more grows and some dies. So you have a lot of, basically rotting vegetation.
Your landscape does, because I just kill mine. And
yeah.
it's done.
No, mine does.
It's like a one and done type of thing.
Yeah. So one thing to think about is the rotting vegetation up by the house. That is just a hotbed for termites, and you're bringing them right to your house. So having landscape close to the house is really a big factor in having a healthy house. You really want to move it away a little bit and maybe make a border around the house. Landscape also, on the flip side, could be great security for your house too. If you have some shrubs and things, a lot of people like that right outside their bedroom windows, because people can't get close to their bedroom windows, or kids can't escape their bedrooms
I didn't even
at
think
night.
about that.
So security
Wow.
reasons both ways, but also if your house is on fire, do you want to have to hurdle over a shrub coming out of your bedroom window in the middle of the night? So there's security issues both ways, and then you just think of resale value. Everybody likes a nice yard. Everybody wants their yard to look nice. It could be a pro, it could be a con. Some people look at the yard and say, it's going to cost me a fortune. There's just no way I can keep up with that lawn and the water bill. And, my city of Farmington water bill, honestly, at my old house in the summertime, is well over $200 because of the watering. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Then there's other people who, they don't want a dirt lot. They want the landscape. So it's a pro and a con depending on what you're wanting in your house. But I would say the overall, take your landscape, back it up away from the house, whether you want it to be nice and big and expensive or whether you want it to be small. Just don't get it too close to the house and be very mindful of where your drainage is. People also overwater and they get runoff and the water may run back towards the house. And keep in mind what you pay for it isn't what you're going to get out of it. I love it when you go to list a house and somebody says, I've got $50,000 of landscape in my yard. Well, you're still only going to get maybe $3,000 from an appraisal because it's landscaped or not. Yeah. You're not getting $50,000.
Sometimes you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So do what you want to do, make it the way that you want.
Now, would you say that most, the general rule of thumb is that really nice, well-prepared landscape is going to net you?
Absolutely. And it's going to make it far
offer.
More sellable. Yeah. More sellable to a buyer. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough. I like that. Aspen, what are some of your thoughts?
So we just redid our backyard and got a first look at how expensive and how much time it can be. Would I have put in to my personal backyard the same as what I would put into one of my rental houses? No, because I wouldn't get that back. But I do think for my house, where it is, the style it is, price point it is, I will probably get all of that and maybe some more back, just because what it was before. It was beautiful and it probably worked really good for the owners before, but the way our windows and house faced and the backyard faced, it was all xeriscaped with, again, nice stuff. It had like turf and rock and a dog run and it looked nice. It was so hot. It made the inside hotter, everything just, I couldn't stand it.
Sun beating off the rocks.
And reflecting off the turf. So we redid it and it's very, very different, but the layout is basically the same. We didn't add huge trees or anything, but it has cooled off the inside of our house so much and helped with the bill price, even though it was expensive to do. But at a rental house, am I going to put in $50,000, $100,000 into backyard? No, I'm never going to get that back. And some renters, they don't want to take care of it. That's kind of the pro of renting is you don't have to take care of all this extra stuff. So in that sense, it makes sense to xeriscape it or maybe have just a basic lawn or something easy to take care of because you're probably going to have to get someone out there to maintain it because that's not really the renter's responsibility for the most part.
Mm-hmm. I like the way you say xeriscape.
Xeriscape?
I always say xeriscape. Right? Paul?
Don't care.
Don't care.
Is it saying it wrong?
No, that's good. No. Xeriscape.
You've been saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Have I been saying it wrong this whole time? I thought it was like XERI.
Xeriscape. Yeah. I think you said it right. I always tend to say, but it's kind of like saying realtor versus realtor. Realtor. For our viewers.
And that's always the wrong
It's not
way to say
realtor, it's realtor.
It's not realtor either.
Realtor.
We're not realtors.
You know what, though? When we hosted the Connie Mac boys from Canada, they said that we have strong accents.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been like trying to listen to what they're hearing because I thought we sounded the same.
Oh, that's great. But you keyed in on something that I think is important, the enjoyability factor for your personal home. And you had some byproducts of that where it actually, your landscape that you put in now actually has cooled down your property. But you have this fantastic backyard now with an outdoor kitchen.
I was going to say, it's a lifestyle change. You've got the outdoor kitchen now. You're spending more time out there. It's now becoming part of your living space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that becomes the enjoyability factor because, we talk to clients sometimes and they say, I want to put in an HVAC so I can have refrigerated cooling, right? And okay, great. Are you planning on selling? Well, I'm going to sell within the next year. Okay, maybe not the best investment. It depends, case by case, but oftentimes you're not going to get that $8,000 or $12,000 back out that you're going to put into it. But if you're going to live there for 5 years or 7 years, you're going to enjoy that during that time. That's an enjoyability factor. And that definitely can tip the scale when you're thinking about, redoing a yard for landscape on your personal property. But I agree with rentals. Most tenants will not take care of the yards in that regard. So we did have a home last year, and I think I used this as an example in a previous episode. But all things considered, it was just an older, well-maintained Mossman home. And for those of you who don't know, a Mossman home, well-built home back in the 60s. They were known for the tongue and groove hardwood floors and some of those wood accents, very charming little house. But that's all it was a charming little house until you walked into the backyard, and it was like a stinking paradise back there. They had growing vines, and they had irrigation, and they had terraces, and they had a garden and a little shed. I mean, it was, and honestly, I think we had 12 or 14 people on a list because it went under contract right away that were like, we will buy this in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. So landscaping can make a big difference. Paul, what's your experience with landscape besides killing it? You had
none.
As far as it goes.
I think a good thing is me and Paul actually have complete opposite. He ripped out his grass, put in turf, and I ripped out my turf and put in grass. It's kind of a good show of people like different things.
Yeah, so mine was necessity because my dogs had torn up the yard. So when we were maybe overwatering it, but it was kind of loose grass, and they just turned it into dirt. So we went and turfed it. But one of the things that I always think of in landscaping, and we've had this a couple of times, big trees in the middle of the yard. Like if you're going to plant trees, don't put it right in the middle of the yard, because then when you want a pool later or a gazebo or a pergola or something like that, now you're dealing with a tree. So like we just had a tree die in the middle of our backyard, so we're going to take it out and use that space for something else maybe. But I've had people go into houses that they love the house, they get to the backyard and it is an elaborate maze of vines and bushes and all that stuff, and they just go, not for me, can't do it. Mm-hmm. The water bill is going to be too high, the maintenance is going to be too high. So I think if you're going to live there, fine, do whatever you want. But if you're thinking of selling, make sure that it's not a super overcomplicated watering system. Like you don't have to hand water these. And, I had one house that we were selling. We had to do instructions on every different fruit tree and every different plant out there. And I go, what if the guy that moves in comes and just levels it all and gravels the whole thing? What are you going to do?
Cry.
Yeah, he said he says, well, they can't do that. I go, yeah they can do whatever they want. Yeah. But so if you're going to sell the house, I mean, just assume that all that's going to be gone for the next person.
Yeah. What about fruit trees? Any experience with fruit trees?
Well, that's it. And see, there's so much to talk about when you talk about landscape. That's another thing. Everybody wants a nice fruit tree in their yard. And then they don't realize that, it's going to drop fruit. You're going to have ants. You're going to have flies. You're going to have rotting fruit in your yard. You got to pick it up every day. You got to work on pruning. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So are you looking to do some canning and you're really going to be serious, or does it just sound nice to have a peach tree in your backyard? Because it is a lot of work.
So for all the fruit trees in my family, they're always like, do you want this big old 5-gallon bucket of cherries?
You can never eat them all like people think.
No, I don't even like them.
You can send them to me.
Yeah. And I got some peaches actually from your family, and I ate the heck out of them.
Good.
But I didn't want to go out and pick them, right? So, and we actually put in 2 fruit trees, but they're dwarf fruit trees. They don't grow feet, so they grow fruit. But they're only like 6 feet or so, and they produce, 12 or 18 peaches a year.
That's what we planted, dwarfs, because we wanted some fruit trees, but we're not looking to be full-time fruit pickers.
Yeah. Well, you can get
too much.
You can get a goat where I can't get a goat.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I planted a fruitless peach tree in the house that we're living in now is one of our rentals. That makes more peaches than any peach tree. The fruitless peach tree makes more peaches than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got all the mess and the branches break and all that jazz.
I think people just really don't think about when they're putting a yard together. They just kind of start putting some stuff together, and then you realize down the line that you're going to have to start tearing things out or changing things up or making some changes. And I don't think people really think that through. We talk about vines. You were talking about vines and how much they are. See, we have that. We love our vines. But one of the things is you have to work on them all the time. They go up and they strangle around my trees. And, they have actually closed our gate to where you can't open it at times. You got to keep pruning them, and, otherwise they just grow through it, and pretty soon you can't open them anymore. So you have to all the time be working on them, all the time. Yeah. But they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Honeysuckle, wisteria, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but it will.
I think me and you
take
feel
over
the same
stuff.
way. We love it and we'll do the work on it. But a lot of people
won't, and they don't know what they're getting into.
And
they just don't know.
It's a lot of work. To me, it's
a lot of money,
therapeutic, and it's very like relaxing and nice. And I love gardening. But if you don't like that,
Yeah.
Probably not for you.
That's right.
Maybe a little patch of grass.
Exactly.
Yeah, now
Some rose bushes.
Yeah, and I was going to say
Yeah.
rose bushes, and a lot of people hate rose bushes, and other people just absolutely love them. But you actually have planters along your fences, so they're not adjacent to the house, but they reproduce their perennials, and they bring up herbs and flowers and other things.
Yeah, so we did along the length of it. I did a full garden on one side, and then I did a kind of a border planter. So I put a bunch of perennial native plants, lavender, Russian sage, that kind of thing, all along the back, and blueberry bushes because I do like the fruit. And then we have like a water feature, and then on the other side we did a more narrow one, and it's kind of outlines our outdoor kitchen, and that's where I have all my herbs for cooking.
That's
in the
nice.
outdoor kitchen, and then a big strawberry patch.
Yeah, strawberries. I can't wait to see those things.
Well, you'll probably never see them because they're gone.
Are they?
I love to go out and just like,
Oh, yeah.
I did it for the kids,
Yeah.
but really it was for me. My parents had a house on Fawn Drive, and it had like nectarine trees. And then my dad planted a bunch of blueberry and raspberry bushes, and I just loved it so much. And then we moved to another house, and there was grapevines. And I just love going out and like picking it and eating it right from there. I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
That was one reason I didn't want to sell my last house. There was a cherry tree in my backyard that was, 50 feet, maybe.
It was-
It was
Oh, geez.
huge.
Yeah.
All the neighbors I made just batches and batches and batches of cherry wine from it, and I loved it. But
Wow.
it was messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, and I had kids doing it and all the neighbors doing it,
Yeah.
and I was doing it, and it was still messy.
Right.
And that's a fun thing. I mean, if you enjoy your landscape, I think that's a perfect point. If you enjoy your landscape, then that's something that you can invest in and reap the rewards. And other people, Paul, you do more of a low maintenance type of thing. And that way your dogs can be on it and it doesn't look bad. I mean, it doesn't get torn up. And,
The other thing is if you have help in your house, then you can have more.
yeah.
But if it's just you and you don't really like doing it,
Yeah.
then
Yeah, Bryson would
Less-
hate a garden.
yeah.
He would never want a garden. Maybe like a few planters, but not.
Well, my family love flowers and grass and all that stuff, but they won't touch it.
Yeah. Yeah. They like to look, but
They like to look.
not to prune.
Just don't watch this episode, kids.
Yeah. Well, and I love the growing vines. I'm, originally from Washington, and there's all kinds of those, almost like an Ivy League look, where you have brick buildings and they have these beautiful vines. But gosh, you do that with stucco, and you have growing vines on stucco. It just eats that stucco up. It can damage your roof. And then a lot of people don't think about when they put like a pine tree or some of these other trees close to a home, because when you put it close to a home, initially it's small, it's cute, and give it 5 to 7 years. And we're experiencing that now in a good way. We knew that these trees were going to grow up, but we've been in our home 8 years now, and I'm looking at these trees and like, those are big. And they were just babies, just in a blink of an eye. They're huge trees now. So you start thinking about the roots that are invasive. They start pushing into your foundation. And then also, especially with gutters, we see a lot of problems with clogged gutters where water's going where it's not supposed to go and then creating damage on stucco or whatever else. You got to be cognizant of that, especially with the pine. I'm not a big pine needle guy.
I'm not either.
But Shannon, you like pines, right?
Not particularly.
Oh, I thought you did.
I mean, I don't mind them, but no,
Yeah.
I don't really plant them or try.
I love them.
do you?
People that like them love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to live in a pine forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one I had at my old house wasn't very impressive, and I didn't really like much. But I have
Yeah.
2 in my backyard right now, and they're stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm such a hater. I hate pine trees.
The needles.
The needles, I
Yeah.
think they smell bad. I don't like anything about pine trees.
Yeah.
Bryson got a real Christmas tree in our house one time. I was like, get this out. I hate it. There's needles everywhere. Smell bad.
Spiders. I heard about spiders that
Yeah,
get into
the
those
bugs
trees.
in 'em.
Oh my
That's
gosh. Yeah.
I did have an experience with hedges in the house that, the kids grew up in. We had these huge hedges, like 8 feet tall. And I was always on the ladder, trimming the top of them, every, once a month. And the neighbors would always be like, hey, if you ever need to get on this side, just go ahead and do it. But these hedges blocked us from ever meeting them. So finally one year I said, we had this one that was dying right in the middle. So I just cut them all down. And then those neighbors became the best neighbors. We were over there all the time. It was awesome. And then they moved away. But if we never cut those hedges down, so I mean, privacy is good, but when you're thinking about landscaping, if you just box everybody else out, then you're not, actually living in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then you think about sun patterns, especially here. I mean, I'm always thinking about sun patterns. In fact, we bought our lot to build because of the sun patterns. We wanted to make sure that the sun was on the front side of the home so we could enjoy our backyard. And there were some other things like that. But there's people that have thought about that and planted trees, and then it helps eliminate some of that sun. Like you were saying on your, brought the temperature down in your house. So you can still get that element, but have some intention behind it and really, really make landscape play to your favor. So does it really move the needle in value? I mean, would you say that a well-landscaped property is going to bring more? It's going to sell quicker?
I think so.
Yeah.
Even if sometimes you might get dollar for dollar, sometimes you may not. But I think that just having it completed nicely and well thought out. I've sold a couple of houses that have had issues with their landscape. Their landscape has caused issues for the house. It can get very expensive, whether it's trees, whether it's bugs, whether it's moisture. You just have to think it out. You have to think it through really, really good before you start putting things in the ground.
I always think if your yard is maintained well too, because it is more day-to-day work, the inside's probably pretty maintained as well.
Yeah.
If you're putting in the effort to take care of the outside stuff, more than likely, you've also taken care of the gutters and you've taken care of the chimney and the roof.
And that first impression is invaluable. People drive by the house and that's why they want to go in and see it, because it looks nice.
Agreed.
If it's a wreck, they don't even want to go look inside, even though they may keep the inside really nice.
Yeah.
They don't,
and we've seen that where we have really nice homes, but the landscape is just shoddy. And it sets the tone for sure. It can hurt your value big time if that's the play.
Yeah.
What about water features?
I like them.
I love them.
Yeah. Paul? I'm not talking about holding a hose. You're going to have something that trickles.
I'm for hire if anybody needs to hold the hose. I can stand for a while.
Things to think about.
They're all right.
Yeah. I mean, the vases that have the water pump and it just recirculates.
Well, I can tell you I like them, but I can also tell you that obviously we all show houses. How often do you walk into a house that the minute you open the back door, you can hear the water feature going? People love it. They love the way it feels. It makes your patio area feel just serenity. It just feels different. It feels calming. People love them.
And it cools it down.
It does.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you can expand your home into your outdoor space, like then all of a sudden you open up all these months of extra living, right? So you can actually use that. And for us, we put in some water features where we love to hear that sound, but also when we look out our windows, we love to see what we're looking at. And it's just all part of it. It's a direct parlay from the inside of our house to the outside of the house. And we enjoy that part of it. And I think others do too, when they come, over to the home. But I think if you're intentional with that, the water feature is pretty simple and affordable to install. But we do see some bigger ones where they're like, I've filled this thing up 6 times and it's running dry in 2 hours. It's like, oh, you got a leak. Yep. Now you're going to have to rebuild. So it can be problematic.
Water is the enemy of all homes.
Yeah.
Leaks are not good. Like my father-in-law has a koi pond in the back, and every time they go out of town, we're over there filling it up 2-3 times. So
yeah,
I can't even imagine his water bill.
Yeah. He's got a beautiful koi pond and it cascades down and big, beautiful fish. I mean, they've been there for years. Right.
I would love a lawn like your in-laws have.
Yeah.
But I would say for most people, it probably wouldn't.
Too much.
Yeah, it would.
Well, it used to be just 2 levels of grass. So grass, retaining wall, then grass at the top. And then they created this outdoor experience, and now it's just constant maintenance. So, that's a good example of you know what you're getting into, because you could have the most beautiful, backyard ever, but then you've got to take care of it.
That's right.
And if you don't, it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have 300 sunny days here.
That's right.
So it really does make sense to do the inside outside. Unrelated, but anything like with native plants too, and then water features, it's really good for the bees too, which we need in this area. They're not doing super awesome. So,
I asked
it's kind of a positive side effect of it too.
For sure. I asked my youngest daughter, I said, what's the most important animal in the world? And I gave her a couple of hints and she guessed bee. And I said, you're absolutely right. I mean, we would be toast if we didn't have the bees.
Except my dog is eating them as fast
Is
as
he?
they come in.
Right.
I thought she'd get
Drooling.
stung. I thought she'd get stung once or twice and stop, but it's like a game to her now. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We
Those
planted
poor
all this
bees.
stuff for him to be great. And my dog's
She's out there
it's like
eating
a game.
them?
Yeah, she's always has like swollen.
Yeah, it's like the Virgin and the Trolls. Stop. It's a movie.
cute movie.
It's a kid movie. You know you've seen it. Don't even pretend.
What's the name of it?
Box trolls?
It's Trolls.
Trolls. I've seen Trolls.
And the Virgins. The Virgins eat the Trolls.
Bergen.
Oh, so see
That's a
you.
different movie.
So you know
Yeah,
you
'cause
have
you're just
seen
saying it wrong. He was
okay.
saying it wrong.
I was
That
just
was
making sure. I was just making sure.
What movie is this?
Yeah, I had to vet to make sure he's seen the movie Trolls. So
Bergen.
let's move
I'm
into
the only adult in the room. I have not seen the movie.
You've got to see Trolls. It's pretty
pretty
fun.
cute.
Yeah. Justin Timberlake singing and I sing along, and that's another story. Let's jump right into the speed round. What is your favorite landscaping component and what should you stay away from? Paul Berry, I'm jumping to you.
Why?
Why?
My favorite is trees. We don't have a lot of big trees around here. Although I have my trailer park when all the branches are falling off. So maybe not trees.
Yeah. Maybe young trees.
Maybe young trees, yes. Trees that don't go over the houses. Things that you should stay away from are the annuals that just wither and die and take a lot of work. The perennials that come back, the things that can grow and expand that you don't have to replant every year. I think that's the better way to go than the gardens that are just
Constant
plant
work.
then die and
Yeah.
then you got to redo it all.
Okay, great answer. Aspen?
I think my favorite landscaping component is anything that is well thought out and maintained. Like you said, don't just put a tree there just because you want a tree. Like think about where you're putting it. And I would say what I would stay away from is huge trees in the front yard because they just get in the sewers and it's such a pain and expensive to fix. I don't mind the smaller trees, but the ones that are just huge, you just know that they're getting all in there.
Eating the sewer lines away. Yeah. Shannon?
Well, that's what I was going to say. My favorite and go-to is trees, and you should probably stay away from is trees.
Yeah.
because they are beautiful and they do offer a lot of shade and they're just fantastic, but wrongly placed, they can be a real problem. I have three large maple trees that are probably over 100 feet tall in one of the houses that I have, and they are absolutely beautiful. But yeah, they're always in the sprinkler lines. They're going through and cracking them, and they're always in the we've replaced our exterior sewer line from the house to the street. It's a problem.
Can be problematic.
They're worth it to me.
Sure.
I'll keep
a
them.
huge cottonwood tree at one of my Airbnbs. Love it, but it makes me so nervous.
Yeah.
that something's gonna happen.
Cottonwoods are
one day.
brittle too.
They are, and they die
Yeah.
from the inside, so you can't even tell.
You don't know.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I think it's a huge selling point of the house, but it makes me nervous.
Every time we have a high wind, I'm calling. Were the trees okay last night? Did any branches break?
Well, let's put a tire swing on there for Bryson and see how
There's
long it
a
lasts.
swing on there.
Is there? Good. All right. Well, and I would say I echo some of your thoughts there. I think that I love personally a little water feature. So if you can incorporate a water feature in your backyard and become, extend your living space inside out and be intentional with your design there, I think landscaping is fantastic. Keep the planters away from the home itself and the big trees. Push them away a little bit so you don't have water intrusion into your home. I think it's a big thing to consider. But overall, landscaping is one of my favorite things. I think it could really add so much value to your property if you do it right. So hopefully this discussion helped today with some of those thoughts. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go jump on our Facebook page and follow us there. And also you can schedule a consultation with us, a private consultation with any one of the members of the Lyons Group. We'd love to sit down with you, talk about goals and strategy in today's market and help give you an advantage. And we love doing that for our clients. We've been very successful with that over the years. And hopefully you can schedule some time with us here soon. So thank you for joining us today in this episode. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjc.com. sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the Den.